We're just jumping right in with examples. So go ahead and jot these down, and I will walk you through them, okay?
Back to theta.
Back to theta. And really, this should be a theta here instead of an x. Okay. We're not proving, we're solving. Yeah, I would write down the directions, guys. This unit, it's not hard. Almost everything relates to knowing your unit circle values. The only thing, so as long as you know your circle, it's not hard. The only things that get tricky are you have to read your directions. So like solving from 0 to 2 pi, that's one type of doing a problem. Another type is when I say all solutions. Inverses were a different type of problem. So you just need to know what the question's asking, and then there is some factoring. That's really the only thing, the other thing people struggle with. Factoring never goes away, guys. So.
Wait, oh, that's a breath.
That's a theta, yeah. It should be theta. No, I'm going to help you. I'm just waiting. All right, so first, do you guys see any little negative ones by any of these?
Yes.
Where, what are you guys seeing? Do you, like, is it tangent negative one?
Oh,
No. None of those, right? Okay, that means these are not inverses, which means you don't have to think about like which part of the circle for these.
Okay.
Okay? So what we did in 4-1, you don't have to think about that restricted part. Your directions are telling you you're going all the way around the circle from 0 to 2 pi. Okay? So what you have to do is tell me where on your circle, so all the way around your circle, does cosine equal...
Yeah.
I just drew a circle so you know what it's talking about.
Erase it.
Did I label it?
Erase it. Erase
Where on that circle is cosine equal to negative root 2 over 2?
3 pi over 4 and 5 pi.
Yes. Okay. Negative pi over 4 is not between 0 and 2 pi. We got to start here and go all the way around the circle. So Tanya said 3 pi over 4, which is second quadrant. And then 5 pi over 4, which is third quadrant. And that's it.
I thought you can't go to the third quadrant.
Okay. Are these inverses?
Gotta read the directions.
Gotta read the direction. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Matt, do you see
Yes.
this? Yeah? You were too busy yelling at me about this.
Oh.
That's why I drew the whole circle, so you know it was the whole circle.
Come on.
Its cosine is x. X is negative on the left side, right? So second and third quadrant. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there only two solutions for each of these?
Yes, sometimes there's only one. If we solve and have to like take a square root and do a plus or minus, then it'll be 4.
I get it now.
You see it? All right, so the second one, tangent. So where on the entire circle does tangent equal a positive square root of 3? Pi over 3. 4 pi over 3, good. Tangent is positive in the first and the third quadrant, okay? Do you guys see how like signs are going to matter a lot in this too? Like you got to know your positive. Yeah, that's in the second quadrant. Yep, that's the thing. Are we good with 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay. It's not going to get hard on the next one. All right, jot down 3 and 4. And again, I will help you with these. I just want you to write them down first. Oh, okay. I was like, why is it so yucky? Yeah, guys, if you want theta instead of x, that's fine.
Oh.
So we are still solving.
That's
All the way around the circle, okay? Once around the circle. Just write it down. I will help you. You'll go back to Algebra 1 for a minute and see these are not hard. I mean, yeah, but you don't have to think about it that way. We're not going to graph these. All right, so what if I gave you an algebra equation that said 2x plus 2 equals 0? How would you solve that? Okay. Hold on. How would I solve this for x? So x equals -1?
Yeah.
So now do the same thing, but with that. So subtract your 2, divide by 2. And now it's like example 1 and 2, where I'm just saying, where on your circle does cosine equal -1? Pi, okay. Anywhere else? No. Okay.
So why would that really come?
I was showing you algebraically what this is. Like, you know how to solve this, right? Okay, it's the same thing, just with a cosine. You see it? So for number 4, I'm going to have you try this first. What if we had x squared minus 2x plus 1?
Oh.
Factor, yes. What does that factor into? Good start with the x, guys. Good start.
-2
-1 and -1. Woo, okay, we got there. Factoring. That's our strength, right? Yep. All right, guys, and then from there, zero product property, you could set each factor equal to 0. Remember this? They're the same thing, so you wouldn't have to do it twice, but okay. So let's do that, but with our cosine squared now. What is that going to factor into? Cosine x -1. Okay. See it? And then I set those equal to 0. I'm just going to do it once because it doesn't really matter. And so what I'm really looking for is when does cosine equal 1? Now guys, be careful with this. If you look up here, we're solving from 0 to 2 pi. The 0 is included, the 2 pi is not. So do not tell me 2 pi as an answer. You could have set both factors equal to 0, but aren't your factors the same? So, well, do you need to do it twice to get the same answer? Remember in algebra 2, like a double root?
Yeah.
Like, you know, parabola, that would just touch the x-axis once, like the vertex is on the x-axis. All right, Chris, I'll write it twice for you. Okay, still, when does cosine equal 1?
Oh, I got it.
All right. So where does that happen? At 0. Lily, what's your question? Oh, that's equals. The equals sort of got lost. Chris, you feel better about it now? Okay. Question, or you just, you know? It's not. Well, oh, the final answer is x equals 0. So think on your unit circle. Where does cosine equal 1?
0.
Yeah. Okay. Glad I could help you with that. Okay, questions so far? Yeah. Okay, that's what I was talking about with this. Is 2 pi included? I know, because we don't repeat.
Oh, I wrote it down. I wrote
Oh.
it.
So again, directions are important. Lily? Okay, is the 2 pi included? Okay. Yeah. Divided by 2, yes. Be careful that you don't ever divide by an x. Okay? Dividing by 2 is totally fine. Okay. All right, guys, questions so far? All right, do you see how your directions are different? Ooh, all, okay. All right, guys, so we're going to start the exact same way. Think on your circle, where does sine equal 1/2?
Pi over 6.
Pi over 6.
Oh,
And then I'm going to leave a little space, and where else does it equal it? Okay, where's the other one then?
Wait, pi over 3 is right?
Oh, pi over 6. And where's the other one? Yeah.
no, it can't be that.
Okay, guys, so there's this thing called a circle.
Wait, why is it not pi over?
Pi over 3, 1/2 is cosine.
This is how they always are.
I just thought pi over 6.
So, sine is okay, we're better now? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
got me there.
Be there forever.
That's not going to be on the recording. Are you ever
That
going
will
to
be
repeat
on
that class again?
Yeah.
Are you recording this right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like, we're going to look so stupid. Only the comments of this.
If anybody watches it, sure. They can't see you.
Yeah, they know our voices. They know.
All right, guys. So we start with our pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. That's not different, right?
no.
When it says all solutions, that means going around the circle forever and ever and ever. So like we have pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. You could go all the way around and hit those spots again, right? So remember like adding 2 pi
Oh.
and adding 2 pi again. Well, I'm going to fill in that space. That's why I like it.
Oh man, I didn't put space. I thought
Okay.
you just had a big comma.
All right, guys. You cannot physically list every single value. You will never finish. Well, this will be your life's work. It will die and it will not be done. And that just is sad. So let's not do that. How far is it all the way around the circle? So we are going to add 2 pi k to each of these.
I hate K.
K is an integer, so it means plus 1 time around the circle, plus 17 times around the circle, plus negative 843 times around the circle. Okay? What? You can go backwards around the circle. Yeah.
So we only do this when it's all solutions?
Yes, guys. So only when it's all solutions should you have a k in your final answer.
Well, or is it 2 pi?
Yes, with tangent, you can do plus pi k because it actually repeats every pi. But
Can we put 2 pi? Okay.
all right. So again, we get how the directions are important, right? Okay. Okay. Let's do an all solutions again. Nope, I'm gonna help you. What's different this time? 3, okay. All right. We're gonna start just like we did on the last one. Think about where does sine equal 1/2? Yes, so. Okay. Instead of me just saying x equals that though, it's 3x that equals that. Okay, so pi over 6 plus 2 pi k and 5 pi over 6 plus 2 pi k. Almost. The whole point of this is we're solving for x, right? Gotta divide by 3. Literally, I'm dividing everything by 3. So, what is pi over 6 divided by 3? Pi over 18, good. And then 2 pi k over 3 is going to be 2 pi k over 3, okay? And so what's the next one going to be? But like you're going to be dividing by 2 or 3, like that's it. I'm not going to have you do like sine of, 18x or anything like that. Okay.
That's good.
I'm like too tall for it, yeah. Like I have to like hunch over to write on it. I'm glad you're concerned about me, Thomas. It doesn't hurt, it's just like, you can rest your hand on it, so it's not that bad. But it's like too low. But the other person who teaches in here is like,
Whoa, we got you cookies, Miss Lloyd.
I actually made those for my 3rd period. I owe them cookies from,
That's not what more color.
I know, I realized that I should have hit them.
Yeah,
I know. Those like weird forms you guys have to fill out and bring back to your 3rd period?
Oh, yeah.
I bribed them, and I really didn't think they'd bring them back. There was one person in there that I was sure would not bring it back, and he did. So everyone's really excited. So I've owed them cookies since, when were those due? Like beginning of October? Yeah, I finally made them. Yeah. So that's good. You're done? Yeah, you were done with the other one. Yeah, so solve, this time we're doing it from 0 to 2 pi.
Did you make that own?
Not intentionally. You do. And it's annoying. Like, we are supposed to email home and call home and find you, and so that's why, like, I want them to be
surprised they don't leave that up for like the front office or something.
Well, they make us do it first, and eventually, after like a month and a half, if you still don't bring it in, then the front office takes it. Yep, this is just interval notation instead of the inequality. Okay, guys, so we are starting the same way. When does sine equal negative root 3 over 2? And?
5.
Okay. And I know this doesn't say all solutions, but I'm going to start the same way, okay? The k doesn't really matter this time, because we're going to get rid of that in a little bit. I know. But because there's a coefficient with the x, because it's different than those first kind, we got to think about the adding, okay? Then.
Is everything minus 2 pi?
It really doesn't matter. K is an integer, meaning it's positive or negative. So if you really like writing minus 2 pi k, it's not wrong. Plus is going to be easier with what we're doing for this, so no, you'll not. Structure question, Will. Just a structure, okay. Auburn, do you have one? Are you good? Okay. All right. We still have to divide by 2. All right, so 4 pi over 3 divided by 2, what is that, guys? 4 pi over 6. And you could reduce that. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. And then what's 2 pi k divided by 2? Okay. And then this would be 5 pi over 6 plus pi k. Still with me?
Yes.
That's not our answer this time, but are we okay to that point? Everyone looks at it. Okay. Our directions say between 0 and 2 pi. So I don't need this k, but I do want to make sure I've gotten every single answer from 0 to 2 pi. So my first answer is this 4 pi over 6. Okay? Then it tells me to add pi to that. Well, over to the side here, I'll do 4 pi over 6 plus pi. That's 4 pi over 6 plus 6 pi over 6. Okay, so 10 pi over 6 is your second one. We just added. Because it says plus pi. Here.
Why?
4 pi over 6, first answer. Okay, then we're adding pi.
And then you need a common denominator.
Okay, the other one said give all solutions. So you can just get to this stuff with the k and you're done. This, we've got to find everything from 0 to 2 pi. And just 4 pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6 are not the only answers from 0 to 2 pi. Because of that. That 2 there messes us up. Okay?
What happens
You can, absolutely, yeah. What happens then if I try to find another one? So if I go from 10 pi over 6 and I add pi again, what do I get? I get 16 pi over 6. Yeah, do you guys see how that's bigger than 2 pi? Anything over 12 pi over 6 would be too big.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm going to stop this section and move over to this 5 pi over 6 piece now. So that's my next answer is 5 pi over 6.
Comma.
Yep.
No big space.
No, because we want to stay between 0 and 2 pi. If you subtract, you're going to be in the negatives. Okay. So I'm going to add pi again. What do I get? Okay. Can I add again? Or will it be too big? Too big. Yes, this is the hardest part. By far. Yeah. Okay. All right. This, guys, we started with 2 answers, correct? Like, we started with our 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. This 2 tells me I'm going to have twice as many answers as you start with. If I started with 2, I ended up with 4. So what if this had been a 3 there? How many answers would I get? 6. Because you started with 2. Okay. Let's do several more of these, okay? All right. We're okay? You're still with me? So you'd add, and then you'd add again. And then move over to the other answer, and then add, and add again. Okay. You can reduce, absolutely, guys. You're getting the rest of it, I'm okay with it. It'll be a different thing, because it'd be 2 pi over 3 that you're adding. Yeah, so it's going to change. All right, guys, let's do 8 together. This one has a 3.
Ooh, so that's 6 answers.
Probably looking at 6 answers.
Okay, first one. Pi 3.
All right, Arun is diving in. He says pi over 3.
And 5 pi.
How do I know that? That's from your circle. When does cosine equal a half?
And then you divide by 3.
And then you divide by 3.
Not easy.
All right, so what's pi over 3 divided by 3? Pi over 9. And then this is 2 pi k over 3. And 5 pi over 3 is going to become 5 pi over 9. plus 2 pi k over 3, right? Okay, now again, if it had said all solutions, you'd be done, okay? That would be the end. But it does not say all solutions. It said 0 to 2 pi, okay? All right, so our answers. My first one is pi over 9. What do I add to pi over 9?
2 pi, okay,
3 pi.
2 pi over 3, right? Okay, so that is really like 6 pi over 9. So what do I get? 7 pi over 9.
Top one, or we can say 5.
I'm sorry, what?
The top one, or we can say 5.
The top 6. Oh, for this problem, yes.
Oh, no, that's probably 6 times.
Yeah, it won't always be 6 pi. Good.
How do you know if they're?
So I found a common denominator, so I want to turn this into a 9.
so you
Can you
want
take away the K?
Yeah, the k. K doesn't really matter with these because there's not going to be a k in your answer. Okay, can I add again? Yes.
Oh man.
What do I get? Yeah, so we're adding it to the 7 pi over 9. Okay? So I get 13 pi over 9. Can I add again? No. Okay. Everybody understand, like, what would be too big? Okay? 18 pi over 9. So it's what, we've got this fraction over 9, and I want to figure out what would be 2 pi with that. So just turn 2 pi into something over 9. Basically, take your denominator times 2. And that'd be 18. So anything 18 or bigger is not going to be okay. Yeah? Okay. Depends on what your denominator is. Okay?
Did you add something to some carbon?
I did. I added. So I started over again. Which we already know, our common denominator. You're adding 6 pi over 9 every single time now. Okay? All right, so then I move on to my 5 pi over 9. When I add, what do I get? 11 pi over 9. I can add one more, right? What do I get? Okay. Does it make sense that we got 6 answers? Yes, okay.
I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, that's as bad as it gets. What, Chris? I don't care. I would do like all 3 with the first one and then all 3 with the second one. All right, you guys try number 9. This one's actually a lot easier. So, I know I got like 2 initial answers, right? And then whatever that is times this gives me the total. So like last time it was a 2, so that's why I got 4 answers. This time it's a 3. Okay. So how many do you expect total at the end then?
0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, let's look at this one. Initially we had 2 answers, right?
So we double the answers.
No. This times this equals 6.
So 2 times net 1.
Yes. Yes.
Are we still doing the 2 pi?
Yep.
There's only one thing.
So how many answers total?
Oh, okay, that
So
makes
guys,
sense.
there should only be 2 answers at the end.
So that's 2 pi.
I thought when there was a 2, you doubled.
Right? How many answers did you get initially? Where does 9 equal -1?
What is Is this their easy unit?
Part of their.
Oh, my God, that's not fine.
Oh my gosh,
Last year, right?
I feel like we were
That was not that good.
yeah, I know.
It was just like quick, like,
But every time there's like one like where it's just this, and I was like, yeah, I know.
because there's only one thing that equals negative one.
Yeah, I can do that.
3 pi over 4. Oh, you're talking? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That was hardly.
Yeah, then you have to do plus 2
No, I
and then divide by
and that's why I have to learn.
So that's for your.
No, but I didn't. If you, you're supposed to use that. It's like in the.
And Nick, then we cover like 3 or 4 extra things. The interpolars, the vectors, the So that's
and 7 pi.
very nice. Okay, guys, did you get 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4? Oh, I am not saying much. All right, where does sine equal -1? Okay, don't forget to add your 2 pi k right there. Divide it all by 2. So we get 3 pi over 4 plus pi k.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first answer is 3 pi over 4. If you add pi to that, that's like adding 4 pi over 4. You get 7 pi over 4. And then you're done. How many got that one? Okay, we're getting there. Yes? Oh, okay. Questions so far? Okay. Let's see. We're gonna, this is on your quiz on Friday, yeah.
Quiz on Friday?
Yes,
This Friday?
yes. If you are not gonna be here, I suggest you come Thursday to Warhawk time to take it, okay? How many of you are in the holiday thing?
And on Friday.
Yeah.
Do we have a half day on Friday?
No.
Do we have like
At one point it was on the website as a half day. One of my students took a screenshot of it and showed me. I was like,
What's on Friday? What?
this? It goes 2, 3, 4, 6. There's just no Warhawk time.
There's no war.
We have the holiday concert during your 4th grade.
Like just a big 4th grade shorter.
Maybe it's like an hour. We have shows like an hour.
So does that make sense?
I really want to see this dog.
All right, guys.
No, these are the concerts where Ben's brother would go off on guitar.
Yeah, how's Sam? Good. All right, guys. Again, we're going to solve from 0 to 2 pi. We are only doing number 10 here.
Alright, here we go.
I'm going to help you with this one because does this look different?
Yes.
Yeah. What's
Oh, the
different
two's
this
on
time?
the other side.
Okay. And do I have a sine and a cosine?
Whoa, didn't notice that.
All right. Because it's not just like our other ones would have been sine of 2x equals a number, right? Because it equals cosine, you have to do something different. Okay. Don't cry when I ask you this. What does sine of 2x equal?
0. 0. You're holding a 0.
Not on the inside.
Nothing.
What?
Sine of 2x.
Close? Your double angle formula for sine, what was it?
Whoa, double angle cosine sine.
Yes, okay.
No, I thought we were done with this.
You're never done. Okay,
This
step
is a-
one, yes?
Yeah, I was so
For your quiz on Friday, I will give you the double angle formula. Okay? Alright. So, it still looks different than the other ones we've done. So I'm going to bring that 2 sine cosine over to the other side. So I'm going to have cosine of x minus 2 sine of x cosine of x equals 0.
So you just moved everything over.
I did. I just minus. You're still with me. I totally could have. Yep, same thing. Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah. You cannot divide by cosine of x. Guys, this is something that seems to have gotten lost in your algebra land. You can never divide by a variable. So like, I can't divide both sides by cosine of x because you'll lose half of your solution, which is a problem. Okay. All right, so looking at the left side of your equation here, what can you factor out of both of them? Cosine. What would be left in parentheses?
1 minus 2.
Oh, very good, guys. Okay. All right, we're making progress. Okay. This is where I can then set my factors equal to 0. Okay. So cosine of x equals 0. 1 minus 2 sine of x equals 0. So the cosine x equals 0, that one you've isolated your x. This one, I'd have to subtract my 1 and then divide by -2. So I'm trying to figure out when does cosine equal 0 and when does sine equal 1/2. So when does cosine equal 0?
Wait, what are you adding?
Yes?
And 3 pi.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you subtracted 2 sine x.
I didn't.
It's what's left over.
I subtracted my 1 over.
Ooh.
And then I divided by -2.
Bean.
When I wrote that, I was like, they're going to think I'm subtracting. But yeah. Okay. So then your remaining answers are when does sine of x equal 1/2? There you go. Pi over 6 and? 5. Okay. Again, do you see why knowing your circle matters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no, did it say all solutions?
No.
No, and once we were here, after this, did we have a 2 next to our x anywhere here? No, we did this instead of dividing and adding, okay? From step 2 to step 3? Or here to here? I factored. What can you factor out of both of those? Yep. Just took a GCF out. Okay. You don't have, I don't think you have any of those on your homework tonight. There is one on your quiz, so we'll do several more in class like that next time before your quiz to make sure you're good with it. Okay. I think we have one more. Anybody need more time on this one? Actually, we don't need to do that one.
That was fun.
Okay, so let's do some whiteboard practice, okay?
Yeah.
Or if you have to do the dividing and adding to get like 6 answers or 4 answers.
But all solutions you don't have to like do that adding thing to a certain number.
You just
save
stop
it.
once you get to the K. Yeah.
But if it's between two values, like 0 and like whatever, you have to get a certain amount to cover.
So it depends on whatever. So it'd be like sine of 3x equals sine of 2x. If you have that coefficient of x, that's when you have to do it.
But if it says 7 2x, you find that you don't have 4.